It's like it's better than it's better than I thought it would be, right? So like that alone was just like, okay, I can rep this tool now. I mean, I have repped it to every single one of my clients. I have not repped a single AI tool outside of the blog builder. Now I'm repping Copilot like day and night to everybody. Like, you have to try this, you have to use it, get into it. Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Happy Friday afternoon. Can't get enough of this AI content. Can't get enough of this AI. We're here for another episode of Let's Build AI Skills with Nico. How you doing, man?
Doing great, sir. Doing great as always. Love the fact that we got a morning show going every morning. It's awesome. Just wake up with AI is it's the greatest. It's the greatest in my opinion because that gives everybody a little bit of what's going on in a really nice 30-minute breakdown. And I think that's very consumable for anybody that's doing that commute and you want to learn more.
Yeah. No, it's been fun this first week. I look forward to continuing the journey. You guys have been awesome. George putting together the podcast and you working on the intro and outro and like filling up our gullets with AI news every day in the Slack channel. So
Hmm.
it's been awesome to collaborate with you guys on that. But what we're missing is 30 minutes. It's so tight. You can't dive that deep into anything. So
Mm,
we're gonna keep doing that at least
yep.
once a week on these Friday shows. Um, And today, we're going to get back into agent.ai, but we were just talking as we started. We were talking about Copilot from the perspective of, just trying to find a way to help people like start to like get going and then go up, right? Build foundation and keep building and building and building.
Hmm.
That's how AI learns. You can certainly use it not in that way and it won't work as well for you, but you don't have to jump into like using 5 tools and connecting them all together and making sure all the ducks are in a row. I've been impressed this week, like just with my wife helps out um, with one of the clients that I work with, and from an inside sales order management perspective, and English is her second language.
Hmm.
So I would often have to review emails that she wrote in English, and I'm getting her, and she's starting to use it more. I'm like, just open up the sidebar, put your email into there, exactly what you want to say,
Hmm.
and it's giving her better emails than I would give her. Like, I appreciate my skills as an email writer, but it's
Right.
like if you have that right there instead of this back and forth that we have to have. Maybe I'm on a call,
Hmm.
right, and I can't look at it. So just that like simple thing, like now saves me time. She's empowered to move forward and not get stuck in the middle of a task, right? It's just, and
Yep.
that's like a small thing, right? It's just an email, right? And you just start there, and as you learn how these tools work, like you say, Copilot has been impressive. I think the challenge right now for the times that I've tested it out,
Hmm.
it's like, what is the context window? Like, depending on where you are in HubSpot,
Gotcha.
what you've clicked on. Like something cool I learned on Wednesday with Anton. It's like the fact that we are in CMS, we're on a CMS page. I open it up and it gives you a prompt for that space that you're in, and that happened to be translate. And I was like, okay, I didn't know we were going to use that as an example, but that makes sense. And so
Right.
Anton's on the call. So I'm like, all right, let's see how good the German looks, right? And because I had copy and pasted it from the page where I wasn't editing it, it I didn't have replace as an option.
Okay.
But then without doing anything else, as soon as I highlighted it in the sidebar, it gave me replace as an option. I didn't have to tell it. And
That's
I was
the
just like,
section, yeah.
man, we're just getting started here, man. It's fun.
See, that's a
It's
little
fun,
bit of
honestly.
OpenAI dipped in there, right? Because that's the that's the new thing with OpenAI Canvas is that you can replace just a section of what it is that you've output opposed to having to replace the entire thing.
Right. And it must just be like, yes or no, is this thing highlighted editable or
Hmm.
not? If so, we're gonna replace it. Or we're
Yeah.
gonna give the option for replacing it. It's cool. Like, I mean, I'm kind of glad. I always like to know. I will get under the hood if somebody makes me, and I'm always interested to learn how stuff works. But the stuff that's happening, like at the level of the browser and all the layering, is just like, man, I'm just happy to have that option, like versus having to download and install things and like, because I tell you what, I still can't get the damn HubSpot sidebar to work
No way.
on my Outlook desktop
No
app.
way. Oh my gosh.
It just I click on the HubSpot icon, it shows me nothing.
Oh my gosh, that
And I'm
sucks.
like, I don't want to troubleshoot this right now. So let me go into the browser version of this.
Right.
Anyway, but
Oh my.
that's what we're talking. There's so many of these little spots, right?
Well, and then
Especially in HubSpot land where it's
it's
like,
like the evolution is what I'm looking forward to as well, right? So like what you're mentioning, like with the replace, like that's one thing, but we this is how it goes right. This all comes right back around to that conversation about like, okay, well, where does the human tie into the equation of working with the AI? Right now, you're probably not. I don't know. Not every salesperson is the same. There are probably some sales reps out there that you get really in depth with your client, with whoever your POC is, and you're writing down birthdays, you're writing down important things, you're making note of certain things that happen. They've told you things via email that are kind of personal back and forth, just that kind of stuff, right? You've got an ongoing relationship with this person. Look, you've got to deal with a lot of people. Maybe you forget that your client told you at one point last year that their kid's birthday was that weekend, but that was a reason why they couldn't make the meeting. But you didn't retain that it was their kid's birthday that day. So I'm looking forward to the day where Copilot is tied into your schedule, which is tied into Sales Workspace, so that 10 minutes before your meeting, a thing pops up that says, hey, Chris, click on this. Here's your meeting prep for your next meeting with here's your client. Here's some stuff that you guys have talked about in the past. Here's some important dates that you should know about. Here's some important things that you should know about this person. Here are some subjects that you guys have spent a long time talking about,
yeah,
right? Imagine you had that for every call that you had to go on.
right.
We were talking about it the other day where it's like there's just too much, man. There's too much. Like if I'd sign up tomorrow if you said, "Hey, you want to have like an extra brain storage that you just plug in?" Yeah, yeah, please. So I can store so much of the stuff that I can't remember because I have to take in so much every single day, right?
Yeah,
We're at that point where you're just like lightning absorbing stuff. So,
right.
these assistants and the way in which these assistants are working and the agents that are getting built out, that's what I look forward in the sales agent functionality is something that
Yeah,
can do that. Right.
no joke. Yeah, like in this middle step of just the data composition in the one place, like, because what everybody wants to jump to and can't wait for, like, without even knowing about AI, they're looking for that day where they hit the prepare button and AI is like, yo, be sure to wish his kid happy birthday.
Exactly.
Like, because his birthday was last year. And like, there's no way you're remembering that unless
Right.
like the time it takes for you to prepare your data and for that to be actionable in that way. It's like the best are they're so good at it, right?
Right.
But even with yeah, I meet people like once a week. We do this coffee chat and Sprocketeer, and I'm always like, oh man, I'm gonna start like keeping track of this stuff in the CRM, and I don't. And then I get on the next call and they're like, "Oh yeah, we talked." I was like, "Oh yeah, right,
See, and the
cool."
fields are there, right? The fields for birthday, for
Yeah.
graduation, for wife, like all of these personal fields are the default in HubSpot, right? And that's that thing. Like you've never really had any incentive to do it either, because like you say, then it's another thing you have to remember. Raise your hand if you do not use Facebook as a means of remembering your friends' birthdays. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Um,
That's where
it's
like some
okay.
people
It's
like
okay. We
they
had Rolodexes,
complain.
right?
Yeah.
We
And
had
the people that
Rolodexes.
complain about it on LinkedIn, like
Yeah,
that tab of
the
like,
reminder,
because
yeah.
I don't use Facebook. So hey, I don't mind being reminding people's birthdays. That's
Yeah,
cool. Like, all right.
that's what I was gonna say. It's like back in, every you used to remember everybody's phone number. I had it all in my head, and then there were just too many. And then everybody had 2 types. You had your home number and you had your cell number, and then you had your home number, your cell number, and your work number. Well, forget it at that point. Now, now you have a cell phone. Now I can store it as a memorized thing in my phone, right? That got to the point where I didn't even remember the number. I just remembered the hotkey. So I didn't even remember so and so's number, just 13 send, right? Um, and then, prior to that, you had Rolodexes, but we've always had these means of offsite external storage. Um, and I just don't see this being any different. And, the whole thing with like Neuralink, like, man, as soon as it's,
Yeah.
10 years past testing and like super, super flawless, even like a 99% chance, like, yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at my office right now and think it looks messy, like my digital uh filing system, all these like random hard drives and like that I'm gonna get to someday, like
Right.
man, yeah, all that storage. But that's the thing, like whenever you do randomly get it out and you find these pictures and this stuff, you're like that kind of we still like we love that moment,
Yeah.
right? We
Yeah,
don't want to
absolutely.
lose that stuff. So that's why it's just always like the challenge of short term and long term memory and how our brains work and all that. It's going to be fascinating because
Hmm.
we're about to learn a shit ton about that,
I
probably
mean,
as we
like,
work.
just I think one of the greatest exercises is, I don't know if Apple has this, but Samsung does. And every so often, not necessarily every day, but it could be even every other day, it it creates like hallmark moments from your life. So you'll wake up and there'll be this little thing on your screen that's like, hey, memory from 2 years ago today. And it's like, shows you literally where you were 2 years ago today, or maybe in that week, and then puts together like a little, slideshow of pictures and video. And it's happened plenty of times where it pops up and I look at the content and I'm like, damn, I barely remembered that we did that. I kind of forgot that we even went to that place, kind of forgot that we even did that thing. I don't even remember that meal. Who are those people? Right? Like that it happens. Like it's already happening, at least to me, on that kind of a level. So like I fully like I'm right on board with you. And it's like I would much rather that's why I say like I'd much rather do a Neuralink type thing where it's still constantly accessible, as opposed to like, okay, I'll save it to a drive and put it off somewhere where like I can go access it sometime when I want to, or what have you.
Yeah, because I'm never gonna do that. Uh, yeah, no, that's absolutely right. And
You never
it's
know.
so
One day you may
interesting,
store your life on a drive.
right? Uh, no, it's in what just came to mind. And apparently, this is gonna be a pre Monday episode of just waxing philosophically.
Mm,
Like we're just starting to really hone in on the best ways to learn, like the best way that human beings learn and like the environment and how that impacts everything and the way, smells and stuff like just can imprint memories and now it's like, are we even gonna need that? Like, what are we actually gonna be? like
I
requiring
mean,
of our brains, right?
so there's like there's a couple different futures that I do see. It's this weird thing where like I can see next year and I can see 2 years from now pretty good. 3 years from now is getting muddy. Beyond that's like forget it. But there is this thing where post 20, I can see where things have changed, like what great change has taken place because by 20, we I don't care what the rest of them say. I've been watching the progress and the exponential growth. It's going to hit the vertical. By 20, we're going to have artificial superintelligence. Okay.
What is 20?
So,
What do you mean when you say 20?
or I'm sorry, 20 years further of
Okay.
development. So I should say by 2044, certainly before 2045, we'll have artificial superintelligence. That being the case, it really represents my best guess is 2030 to be honest with you, but I don't want to jump the shark. I
I
really
mean,
do. I
at
think
this rate,
I've
I'd
been
rather
saying
be on the record
2030.
saying it than not saying it.
That's the thing is like you'd have to ask my wife at this point because I'm pretty sure I told her back in like 2015 or 2016. I was just like 2030 is going to be the most ridiculous stuff you've ever seen in your life. And at that time, it was as a result of 3D printing having come out. And I saw 3D printers and they were ridiculous. They were so expensive. Good luck building one at home. Good luck even like knowing how to use it, having the programs. Even still, I was just like, nope. Okay, that's going to be the game is going to be on another level by 2030. If we're already doing this now and I didn't see this for like another 8 to 10 years, where software is definitely now overtaking hardware, right? And the most important thing to understand and why this is on an exponential scale, at least in my opinion, I don't know. Again, I'm not a computer engineer. I'm just stabbing in the wind here. Um, my the way I think about it is like, okay, hardware has a limitation on scaling because of transistors, right? Moore's law. We have through language models now, we've through AI, we've worked out how to go beyond that. We're well beyond that now. According to Wang, it's something like Moore's law squared at this point, which is ridiculous to me, but still, to have done that within 2 years, to have broken Moore's law by a serious degree within 2 years is pretty ridiculous. If you think about that, that's, they say like 100 years of human evolution and technological evolution will happen easily in the next 2 to 3 years. Right. I mean, we've already just with what we've done in 2 years, it's ridiculous to me. So 1 year from now, it's I don't know what the exponent looks like, but anyway, once you have that ASI, it's a matter of like, okay, to your point, I see it one of two ways. Either it's a sort of mixture between Idiocracy, Blade Runner.
I was gonna say idiocracy.
It's a very realistic view where like society is both quite a bit lazy and both technologically advanced. Basically, what we have now, just on a much larger and very definable scale. Um, Multilingual becomes an awesome thing, but everybody's going to have the ability to understand everyone else. So that like goes away, which brings a lot of unity on a global scale. Um,
Vindicated. I don't have to learn Spanish.
Seriously. um, and then the other side of it is similar to a Wally scenario, Wally slash Elysium scenario, where we end up with this divide of people who would rather kind of go the way of Star Trek and be be better humans per se, per that opinion, and we'll have everyone else, right? We were kind of talking about this morning, like about the 5 different types of bipedal beings that will inhabit the Earth soon enough. Um, Bipedal humanoid beings altogether.
Yeah.
Just yeah, we'll get into it on Monday.
Yeah. In the
Yeah,
meantime,
anyway.
what can we do today? uh,
Today, we can definitely take a look at Agent AI
we got
and
we've got some agents on the screen that we can imagine one day just being like right next to us at the desk, or they're at the desk. We're probably not at the desk.
Yeah,
Um, honestly. So
somewhere around. So since last week, I've done a few things. Um, I'm just
can
going to
we
be honest. I'm sure that the boys are not going to be like super thrilled uh, with the feedback. I've been really honest and open on the Slack channel. I do want to say before you guys start pounding Chris's inbox, before you start pounding my inbox on LinkedIn, it is seriously, seriously, and I'm not trying to be that kind of person. It is seriously like invite only. There is less than 50 people using this right now, right? There are a lot of people using the bots, but less there are less than 40 builders. So it's definitely not open to like hundreds of people and you're just not getting the invite. It's a very, very small select group of people. I am extremely overwhelmingly lucky uh, to even be able to look at the inside of this and show you guys. So trust me, I don't take it lightly at all. But yes, I do realize everybody wants to get in. I'm doing the best I can. I'm talking to the guys. Actually, I do have a statement from Mike, um, and so he says that he would like to relate to everyone that um, they are going to roll it out soon, um, and that everybody, if they could, they're psyched about people wanting to join. Um, and I'm basically a part of like the very first cohort group of testers. So there's going to be further like cohort groups that are going to get invited. The general release for this is going to start later this year, and if you have asked for access, it is already on the list. So it's not so like stop re-asking for access. That's not going to bump you up. You're already on there. Think HubSpot. Your email's already in there. It's just getting deduped, and your original stuff staying where it's at.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I
so
think
yeah,
that's good. Good to share. And it makes sense because this is not your run of the mill beta, to say
no,
the least. So,
no,
and I'm sure it's not like from that perspective, it's not uh or it can be like resource intensive, right? To
very
support all
much
this
so.
activity. So like just adding people in willy-nilly, like if there's not a commitment to actually build stuff and give feedback and test it out,
Hmm.
right? They
That's
gotta
another big part of it. Yeah,
they gotta keep a lid on it, and so they can get to the work of releasing it to the masses. So
yeah.
appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, of course. I think it is that case where like it's gonna get there. Everybody will get access, but resources are a thing to consider. If you've been following what we talk about every morning, if you've been following Wake Up with AI, then you'll know that we discuss resources, we discuss electricity, how that's going to work out, power, water, and just human resources altogether and how it fits into the equation. So yeah, it's definitely a big part of it. And not every company that starts out with this type of technology is fully set up and ready to handle hundreds or thousands of users, especially since you're going to be making tons and tons of calls. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to, make one call to one model and get one output. It's like, no, you're going to be making one call to one model that's going to talk to another model. It's going to talk to an agent. It's going to talk to some other agent. Like, so at least that's the end goal.
Yeah, I mean, even the biggest one, or the big ones, GPT being one of them. Like when they do something new, lines slow down.
Yep.
They've got traffic maxes as
Yep.
well. So, and this is
Every
just
time there's a new release. Yeah.
yeah,
Every time.
it's all that's interesting to think about how it's all really starting to be connected and how that gets managed. I'd expect some kind of bell curve of like kind of the resource intensiveness going up a little bit first, um,
Yes,
before it just like
before it
plummets.
plummets.
Yeah.
Yep, yep. That's exactly what I see as well,
Oh
sir.
yeah, we're clearly on way too many shows together at this point.
I think that indicates that we're on just the right amount,
Yeah,
that the
yeah.
same
No,
wavelength.
earlier I was gonna say what came to mind is like iRobot plus Idiocracy plus some level of Star Trek, basically.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
just weight those three differently, and that will be some form of the future.
for sure.
God save us all.
It could be a good thing. Hang on to it. It
Well,
could
it's
be a
gonna
good
be a
thing,
good thing.
dude.
It's just yeah.
It's look, evolution is the reason I think that this is so very daunting to people and it is so very scary. Something is coming about where we're at the top of the food chain. We have pretty much always been at the top of the food chain, especially once technology started. Now we finally have a technology that we created that is actually smarter than us. And fairly soon, it's going to have an everlasting body, so to speak, right? Completely replaceable parts, right? That kind of thing. Soon, not too long after that, try to keep in the back of your mind that like a year and a half ago, Google DeepMind discovered something like 700 new probable uh, compounds or materials that we could create that would not have been discovered for 80 years, right? That stuff is still not trickled down yet, but when it does, you can guarantee robotics and silicon chips are the first place in which it's going to get used.
Yeah.
So that being the case, it's like, yeah, it is. It's very, very daunting to think that one day you're going to let something into your home that is smarter than you, that is as empathetic and or understanding of human emotion or capable of like understanding and feedback in that way, is every bit as dexterous as you are, can move in all the same ways that you can move at the same speed, can probably run faster, can probably lift more on average. Um, and you know, this is so great. I was bringing this up to a colleague last week and was just watching an interview with Eric Schmidt on Australian news. It's about the only place he's going to be able to speak and get away with it. And he actually brought up something that I brought up with my colleague, that I have been waiting to hear people talk about for quite some time now, which is what happens when your kid's teddy bear is teaching your kid, right? Because like that's another, that's where it starts to become scarier, right? Is like, okay, we're going to be eventually we're taking the model out of the computer and we're going to put it in stuff. We're already putting it in our phone, but that's pretty much like a miniature laptop, so I'm not counting it. But we're going to be putting it in, I mean, video games is going to be first. You're going to see it in NPC characters in video games. If there aren't already, there will be very soon. That is going to cause an addiction like you have never seen, ever. Like the people who play those video games with those types of characters powered by AI will be more addicted to that game than any other video game in the history of gaming. Hands down, especially if it's an RPG game. If it's just like all you need is World of Warcraft AI characters and Grand Theft Auto AI characters. You've dominated pretty much the rest of gaming, right? And you could do it with like all the different themes, Baldur's Gate, stuff like that. But point being that like as addicted as people might have been in time they were willing to give up before, now they will be even more enthralled. They will have these personal relationships with these non-player characters within the game, right? It's going to trickle
Yeah.
down to your kids. So like I get it. I get it. It is really like, because it's a lot of evolution. That's a lot to deal with in a very short amount of time and we don't have that kind of time. That's why we've been telling people every day, wake up with AI, because if you don't, it will seriously pass you by. Like it's not a matter of GPT and like this is the beginning. We are still at like just the very top of the iceberg. Very top. And this thing is so massive underneath the water, you can't possibly imagine. Right. So honestly, like being at the beginning stages, if you guys don't jump in now and start to understand not just like how these things work and how to use them, how that's really that's like 50% of the game, but the other half of it is just knowing what's out there, knowing that it's there. We all took some time to understand what Snapchat was because our kids were going to be using it, and what Instagram was, and how that kind of worked, and all these different platforms and all these different types of softwares and TikTok and all this other stuff. This isn't any different. And if you don't understand this, I guarantee you your kid will know before you do, and it will be way too late by then. I've already seen 6, 8-year old kids doing whole programs with GPT in under an hour. I cannot imagine, and try to keep in mind, no one has a greater imagination than a child. No one. No adult will ever be able to imagine something greater than what a child comes up with, because they are the most abstract, fantastic thinkers possible. They create, like when you were a kid, you created all these fantastic stories in your head. They were so awesome, you couldn't possibly make a movie about them because the technology to do so didn't exist. Right? Like that kind of fantasy. And we're rapidly approaching this point where that's representable. I mean, my God, the AI video, the text to video you can do now it's seriously unreal. The text to image, then the image to video that you can do, it's seriously unreal. And we're getting to this point where, man, a kid is going to be nearly at the same production and content creative level as an adult who's 70 years their senior, right? It'll
Yep.
just be a difference of who has used the tool more, who woke up
Yeah.
first. Right?
It's a different form of accessibility, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not about having access to the tools. It's access to the knowledge of using
Yeah.
the tools, right?
Yeah. And
So
it's
it's
that's not hard, guys. Like I mean, fitting it into the rest of your daily schedule might be, but staying on top. That's why you gotta be listening to Wake Up with AI. 30
yep,
minutes every morning. You get caught up like there's no tomorrow.
yep. Uh, or like there's a freaking awesome tomorrow,
Yes, actually.
right?
Like there's an even
Um,
more awesome tomorrow. Yeah.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like I'm starting to, man. I'm sure this is in some like behavioral or psychological book somewhere, but like the number like I feel like the number one fear is uncertainty, like for any human being.
Hmm.
And like because that's the most interesting thing. I've seen it happen with this topic like I haven't seen before. Like super smart people that clearly cannot even imagine like what the future is in 2 years, 3 years,
Yep.
right? And
Yep.
like I mean, I'll say guys like us just like throwing it out there. Like you can't be right if you don't take a guess, right? Like
Yeah.
and that 1 out of 10, that 1 out of 20 times where you look like Nostradamus, like that's worth it every time, right? Um but yeah, man, like when you see like and when the smart people that react that way in the moment, like you can just see like whether it impacts them or not, there is like this fear.
Yeah.
It's just this it's discomfort,
Dude, I
right?
see it when I talk to people and when I tell people, like, when I start talking to people about what's possible, right? That's when I start to see the eyes go a little like wide. And it's like, yeah, and it's going to be able to do this, and they can already do this, and this thing is right around the corner. And that's when it's just like, yeah, it's cool. Wow, like really? And it's just like, oh, dang it! Like I know I've already broken part of your brain. I'm sorry. I'll walk away now. Um,
So we'll put it in perspective. What have you been working on? The
mm,
thing
this
is
is
an interesting name.
this is the thing, and the name derives from the movie. It is one of my absolute favorite horror films, and I loved the premise of it. If you understand that, then you understand what it is that I am trying to build. But if you don't, I'll kind of get into it a little bit. Um, the thing does all the things you want it to do. Currently, I'm working on the conditional statements that make this possible. I think I have it nailed down, but I'll walk through why it's so difficult to do. At some point, I do want to make it email enabled so that I just send an email to the thing and then have it process what I need, but we'll see. Because if this is possible, I'm actually going to look at chaining this to uh, see if I can chain it via the API to HubSpot so that when you send an email to a client, it goes through the thing and it does like what it's
Hmm.
supposed to. Yeah. So what it's meant to represent is everything and anything marketing. So it is meant to represent, hey, I need an email. It goes and hires the email guy and brings him over and does it based on like fields and information that you'll give out in the first place. So I'll just walk through it. That's for right now. It's going to be a manual trigger, but eventually we'll, that's what I like here is that they have these already set up. So what I'm looking to do is pretty much the same thing, only trigger it based off of email being sent to contact. So
And
so the way that
just as a reminder, like those triggers there is just like maybe like 1% of what's available to you in a like a HubSpot workflow,
yeah.
for example. Like, so just imagine all of the things that you consider to be triggers in HubSpot
Hmm.
being available to trigger this activity that we're showing today.
That is the hope because like if I yeah, oh, let's see. Um so what you end up doing is you end up going into a funnel where you're going to fill out some properties about um, what best describes your business type. And these all get stored into variables. So basically, we're picking up business type, primary customer, revenue generation, lead gen, follow up offering, sales cycle, sales nurture, post sale, metrics, and team size. And so we take all of that and we crunch it all together and we go invoke O1 Mini and we say, okay, based on all of this, I'm trying to build like a very small example to get it to work first before I actually try to go large scale because I don't want to have to build out a ton of stuff and then be wrong. Um, so just dealing with like, okay, let's try to determine whether this is a consulting service or small scale e-commerce. And so it's already got the variables set up. It looks at what values are in those variables, and then essentially says, look, don't without trying to, don't give me any feedback, don't give me anything else, don't like any responses. I just want to know, is it a consulting service or is it small scale e-commerce? And it stores that in the CRM type. Um, and then the conditional agent afterwards is going to check on that condition before calling the agent. And so here's where it's kind of been left off because I'm back I'm back and forth with the agent AI guys in Slack trying to work out this problem. Um, because if we were in HubSpot, what I'm looking for is if we were in HubSpot, I'm just looking for a branch that says, hey, if this, then this, or if this, then that, or if this, then that. So because I can't do a branch, what I'm thinking of doing and what I think I can do, but I haven't quite tried out yet. It'll be this weekend and we'll find out next week whether or not it worked. Is I think I can chain the agents. So, how this works long term is I have I've already got an e-commerce builder. I've got a copywriter, and so what happens is, and the e-commerce builder. So like what ends up happening is like they build out um, campaigns and start to like rough out drafts and stuff for you. So like you're an e-commerce business. The the point of the thing after you filled it out would be that automatically within HubSpot, you would have these, workflows created with these emails created with the images in them, with the copy written in there based on your business, like based on your CRM data, right? Like basically I would use API calls to gather information, make an assessment through the language model, and then pump out the assets based on what the results of the assessment were. um, it's ridiculous stuff. It's very like it's very very tedious. Thanks to big shout out to David Lapointe, who is the one that told me and broke it down very quickly that, hey man, you should probably try like building all those separately before you try building one that has all of that in it. So because that was the initial idea, and I'm like, man, you just can't cram all this stuff here. So the hope is that by building all the separate ones, what I can do, and you can see that I've kind of tried testing this a little bit, but it's still not quite there yet. My hope is that I can build a chain of if then statements that essentially invoke the agents one at a time. Like the particular problem is that when you go to invoke another agent, you have to give the agent name immediately. I think I have solved this problem. And if I'm right, it is fully, fully expandable. If I'm wrong, it's horrific. But what I'm thinking is that since it's looking for the agent ID, if I actually create the agent ID as a variable, then the output prior to this simply has to be one of the. So, in other words, the agent ID will be the same number or whatever. Let me see, go back. So, like if it's for the copywriter, um, it would have, where is it? Copy URL. Yeah, it doesn't have, it would just be the agent name because I don't think you actually use the URL here. Um, unless when you make public, doesn't it give you that? Yeah, that's actually part of that review. Yeah, it's not going to go public anytime soon. Anyway, so, so what I'm thinking is that the agent name might be the ID because I don't know. Oh, never mind. There you go. ID equals. Okay. Okay. So if basically I can take that, store it as an option within the language model and have that say, hey, if it's this ID, call uh call that agent basically. Or it doesn't even have to have an if then at that point. It should be able to just say like the if then should get handled by the language model, and the result of the if then gets stored in the variable, and that gets picked up by the invoke agent, and the invoke agent invokes the proper agent based on the variable. So I think that's actually going to work, and I think I can use that to then chain all of this together. um, and if I can, yeah, you're gonna see a really really awesome output because, like I said, it's not just gonna be the email guy. It's not just gonna be like the assets, like the frame assets builder. It's gonna be, yeah, and like images within the email already programmed, landing pages already programmed, laid out, everything, copy already in there, all like stylized, branded, everything. One of these days, like when I have like full bore API access to doing stuff, uh, yeah, then I intend on doing stuff like, pulling your brand colors and schema and all that stuff in, and literally
Yeah.
just, you know, yeah,
It's going to
turn
be that ridiculous marketing coordinator job description that everybody wants to hire for like 40 to 50K, that is wearing 10 hats and can manage social and can manage website and can manage marketing automation and can support the sales team. And yeah, maybe they had it right all along and they're just planning for this day of AI. I don't know. Good to know that at least there's some limits that even the AI can't wear 10 hats
yeah.
uh, at the moment. So yeah, and
Um,
I'm pretty sure we mentioned that last week too. So right, that's what happens when you ask one thing to
yep.
do, to have 10 different points of focus as a part of their job.
Yeah, and I'm seriously looking forward to it because I don't think anybody. I'll just say this much: none of you realize the lengths to which I'm going to take this, and I'll give you a little bit of a preview of how far I'm willing to go. I'm willing to go so far. I don't mean to insinuate anything. I'm not trying to say anything negative or anything like that. I'm just pointing out facts are facts. Um, when it comes to using the builder, okay, there isn't, there's no FAQ. There's no walkthrough. There's no, here's how you do this. When you go to add actions, there's no, yeah, and here's a little thing on how you do it, right? There's like a little thing, give the input, but it's assuming you know what all of these things are, right? Um, I don't know what everything is for all of these actions, but I know who does.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and put one of those together. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and make this public for anybody that would like to use it. And it is your agent AI GPT to help you build your agents in
Nice.
agent AI.
Man, the
Believe
value
me, you don't
never
want to.
ends.
So here's what's crazy. Um, yeah, I want to show you the canvas on how this got built.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so if you
Just
guys don't know yet,
zoom in a little bit
um,
for me.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. I always forget. Um, okay, so if you guys don't know yet, Canvas is a feature that came out very recently, just this past week. It is not like uh, the Claude capability when it comes to gosh, what are those called? Oh, I don't even remember anymore already. Anyway, artifacts. So it's not like Claude artifacts at all. Claude artifacts is a very different. It's a very different thing in that it is a singular output that's copy paste. Yes, it can do code. Yes, it can run React front end, but that's what it is. It's like a repository for an answer. Okay, and
As
because it's a
sorry.
repository for an answer, it's it counts against your context. So it's generating more tokens, right? Um, and it's increasing the context length. Whereas with Canvas, what OpenAI has done has changed this so that it rewrites what was already written. So it's not actually increasing the context window. It's not actually increasing the length of your conversation. It's literally just rewriting what's already been written. And maybe there's stuff that gets added to it, maybe not. But that's, it depends on what you sort of like copy, paste, and edit, right?
Yeah. And that just got me thinking because, like, I feel like, and I don't use this stuff nearly as much as I feel like I should, but when I was using it either yesterday or today, Claude, um, I just asked it for like a simple, um, LinkedIn post. And previously, like if it was a simple thing, it would not pull it into artifacts.
Hmm.
And it created the LinkedIn post in an artifact. So it makes me wonder if they're going to start to move towards the editability, like in some way.
Um, you, in some cases, it seems like it has sort of its own handle on when it uses Canvas and when it doesn't. I've had to ask it sometimes to like, hey, can you put that in a Canvas? Um, the one thing I am running into is that once you've created a canvas, it's very difficult to go off subject and or create a second one. Like there aren't multiples, there's just the one. So far as I have experienced, I would love to see like multiple canvases, but I understand the purpose of it is not meant to it's meant to be like per conversation. You should only ever have to change that canvas, and otherwise you move on to a different painting or a different model, whatever, however you want to look at it. Um but so just to run through this, because I know we're all I always make us short on time. um what I
I
did
like to
was
talk to
the
you.
what I did was I prompted GPT and I said, look, I need files that have with data that we write out to be exported as JSON format or written out on a canvas in JSON so that I can copy paste it. The most important thing and what I'm leaning on you for is interpretation of these images that I'm going to give you. Each image that I give you, a each image will give you a sense of the system and options that I'm working with. and it's going to be your job to keep track of it and organize it in a fashion that allows you to create a descriptive output for a model to understand how to use this software suite. Sound fun? Um, so again, this isn't, I didn't go anywhere to find this prompt. I didn't even like prompt GPT to make this prompt. This is just what I want. That's what I'm trying to do. That is the context of what it is that me and this conversation are going to be working on. That's it. From here, if I want something super specific and I'm having trouble getting it, then I'll go outside and, okay, Claude, like, what am I doing wrong here? GPT, what am I doing wrong here? But in general, like, just go with the flow, talk to it like another person, just give it the context and what it is that you're doing, and it's going to be okay.
Especially when you get that response. Absolutely, Nico. I'm all in for this.
Well,
All right.
in fairness, the my output instructions are for it to be a little bit more personalized and be a little casual and like not be so stiff with its responses. So,
I mean,
uh,
that's a good example of like, there's ways, like, if this is, if it's feeling too robotic or whatever is making you uncomfortable about trying this, like there's little things like that where you just throw those custom instructions in there and all of a sudden it's a different experience.
yeah, entirely. Like when I work with GPT, and even when if you haven't seen it, I posted a video of the advanced voice and how you can, on the fly, change accents, change languages, change story, whatever you want to do. That kind of brought it back to this in terms of like, yeah, it's even the voice is a little bit more personalized sounding now. Like it talks to me in a different way,
Yeah.
similar to the way that in which I interact on text. So, but that in a voice format is very different now. It's much like I already have like two different voice conversations, like a general inquiry one, and then another one that's like theoretical discussion. It's like,
Man, that reminds me how much stuff there actually is here. Because I was so excited when I saw that last week.
yeah,
We went the whole week without showing, without talking
no,
about it.
I
Like,
know.
man.
Oh my gosh, the things we have to do on. You know what? I'm making that a point to show that video on Monday.
Yes, sounds
Worst case
good.
scenarios. Um, so with this, we're going into, it understands what we're going to be doing. So at this point, I'm giving it the images. Now, yes, that means that I went through the painstaking process of screenshotting every panel and every interior of every panel, right? Every single one of them. Data. I cannot make bricks without clay. So um, first started with just the panels because I don't want to overload it and make it think that like it's got to go too far for stuff, or too deep for doing anything. So loads up the images, takes a look at them, understands what's in each module, what's supposed to be there. You'll have to just kind of, oh wait, no, I can't go back. Oh, this is so great. Wow, that's so great. That's amazing. Okay, so this is the first shell that it came up with. Okay. And you can see it's a great shell. Those are all the module categories. And then I have to kind of go back and forth like this. And then started giving it, it's a good deal now that you have the functions in there. I'm going to give you the images of the function settings, and I'd like you to append the settings to the structure where it's applicable. So I started giving it the inside sections of each of the modules. And so from the initial, it started to fill them in. It went back and it started rewriting, and it got stuck initially, but we kind of worked on it a little bit. And slowly but surely, it started filling in more and more of them with the details that I needed in order to use them. And eventually, we got to, at one point, it tried to mini the code for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but I literally said, please, like, unmini the code into a
Oh
structure.
man, this thing's garbage. Can't believe it would do something like that. Why are we using this?
It was trying to, for those of you that don't know, like minifying code, it saves you space because every little space and every little thing, everything equals a kilobyte, an amount of space. So this, in other words, takes up more space than this version, which is the exact same thing. It's just way easier to edit this way than it is to try to remember it all. So anyhow, so that's how I ended up with the data set that is underlying the agent AI GPT. Um, and as you can see, I've been using it to, hey, I need to try to come up with a way of doing that's ideation, folks. Needed to come up with a way of trying to figure out like how I could call invoke other LLMs or invoke other agents without having to do this complicated if then crazy checking statement. So um, it's helping me along with that. And so yeah, so next week I hope to be able to show you guys a very, very, very much more completed version of the thing that is doing a lot of things. Take
Man,
it
I'm
all.
excited. I'm excited to see that. No, what's on my mind right now is like, man, thinking about this stuff against the functionality that everybody wants. Um, like I'm about to have a breaking news show in a few minutes with my buddy Bill Barless, who's a CPQ goat. Um, because HubSpot bought a CPQ company today.
Wow. Wow.
And
Even I'm only now hearing about this.
yeah, assuming that post was legit. Um, I think so. Uh, yeah, it was. Hope I don't. Yeah, there we go.
Oh wow. Front and center.
Right. Kind of
Wow.
a big deal, but
Okay.
like,
Here's I don't want to cut you off, but this is so interesting to me. Only because my wife was talking to me about something very similar yesterday. She had found a nonprofit CRM software that she was really into and she really loved, and she was like, yeah, and they use Stripe as their payment system. And I was like, oh my god, I feel sorry for him. And she was like, why? I'm like, because it's just like they're building on top of somebody else's platform, so they're eventually just going to get destroyed. And she was like, I don't understand, like I don't see why they would. And it's like, you know, you just watch what HubSpot is doing to like some of its vendors in the ecosystem. Watch what Salesforce is doing to some of its vendors in the ecosystem. Look at Klarna. Klarna kicked Asana and Salesforce to the curb because they're going to develop their own CRM, their own proprietary stuff, because they can, because coding is super cheap and easy to do now. So all of this stuff becomes super threatening. So like this is awesome to me because it's like, yeah, you definitely should create a partnership where you are now vertically integrating payment systems and all that kind of management through one whole source. Like same thing with Clearbit. Like they're getting smart. This is a seriously, seriously smart move.
yeah. And now that I see like the B2B billing management part of this,
Yeah,
it's like maybe
I mean
one or
it's
two steps
early
away from
enterprise.
ERP at this point. Like just missing like product management, inventory management stuff, and that's probably it. Um, hmm, that's interesting. But what came to mind is like the way that CPQ works. Like, do we even need like can we just give it like the engineering configuration? Can we give the engineering configurations to AI and have it build all the rules, all the configuration rules that would uh would be needed for a CPQ system, and then just plug it into the HubSpot quotes that we have now, and that like, do we even need a whole CPQ like build out, right?
True.
Like, because that's where like the configure part, all the stuff that's out there right now. I
Hmm.
think until like, it's funny how like depending on what industry you're looking at, like the different forms of CPQ you'll find. But when you get in industrial and manufacturing, and it's all about like, if these 99 pieces of this equipment exist, then you can't have this last piece be, this last piece can only be like 10 out of these 100 options, right? And there's rules like that for all of the 100 pieces, right? And sometimes you're building it like that's like configuration, like
Yep.
the world I'm coming from at least. And that's where like, yeah, you can't have a sales guy just willy-nilly picking pieces that you can't build,
Right.
right? So that's where CPQ comes in, and that's where it's like at my last job, I remember these, like the engineering team always does a great job of like making it very clear on all the options that are available.
Mm.
Not always clear on like what all the configurations are and what can be used. But that's where at some point somebody knows how it's put together. You just take that information, put it into AI, have it build the rules for you,
Yep.
and then just say, hey, customer. At that point, you're just detaching from the need to configure the product at all. Say the customer needs this, this, and this. Like, all right, here's your product, here's the configuration, here's the price.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be based on the 10 other customers that bought it and all their demographics. I would have to say, like, yeah,
I think this is awesome because,
like the
like,
billing management part of this, I'm like in that future,
right.
like, because that like financial systems access, the whole taxes, like all the stuff that gets in the way of Commerce Hub being used, like, for real,
Mm-hmm.
that might be more of a win here, like than the CPQ part, honestly, because that's the one thing I'm like, of course you're not going to use HubSpot for like accounting and
Right.
paying people. And it's
Right.
like, okay. uh,
Oh man.
all right, touche, HubSpot.
Back at
Um,
you.
your
You'll
move,
see.
market, your
You'll see.
move. All right, man. Well, this has been another exciting, deep episode of Let's Build AI Skills. If it's not building stuff, it's hopefully thinking about this stuff
Yeah.
in a way that maybe you weren't before.
Building either from a software level or from a knowledge level.
Yes, exactly. Both valuable skills, although maybe the knowledge part is more valuable for the coming future.
But
Just throw that in there. But you will have a place. Don't worry. With that said, we'll see you next week, man. Hope everybody has a great weekend.
yep. Have a good one, guys.